on your team. We're in this to win it. I'm going to stand with you in this. I met a gentleman today named Roger from Nashua who said he went to his first Republican meeting ever the day before yesterday when he went to the Nashua GOP City Committee, and then he came to this conference for both days, and he said, I'm in. I like what I hear. A gentleman who's moved up to New Hampshire from Texas recently, who said, I've been sort of disaffected, sort of disconnected from the party for a while. I don't know what I can invest in. I don't know what I can believe in. He came to the conference, pulled me aside today, and he said, this is what I needed to hear. This is what I needed to see. I'm in. That's what we need for every single one of you, not just for you to be in, but for you to get out there and make sure everybody that you know, that you have ever worked with in the party, anyone you've ever worked with before on anything, we need everyone to be in if we're going to win this. I want to tell you right now, as far as I'm concerned, as chairman of the New Hampshire Republican Party, if you are passionate about any core principle of our party, I want to work with you. I want you on my team. If you are here because you are passionate about limited government, low taxation, educational choice, we should be the party of education. We are the party of education. We're the party of the future. We're the party of small businesses. We're the party of growing jobs, not just here in New Hampshire, but everywhere else. We're the party of liberty and freedom. We are the party of the greatest nation on earth. And if any of that inspires you, I want you on my team to win elections this November. Everybody who's been here for the last couple days, I promise this is the last time I'll ask this question. Why are we here? What are we here to talk about? Winning. Winning. You've got to be able to say it louder than that. What are we here for? We're here to win. We are here to win. If we cannot govern if we do not win. And we will not win unless every single one of us stands together. I look out across this audience. I'm telling you, I see Carl Seidel and J.P. Marzullo and Ken Merrifield and Diane Bitter and Fran Wendelboe. I see Senator Chuck Moore, Senator Carson, Senator Stiles. I see Jay. I see Karen and Paul from Nashua. I see the whole crew here. I want all of you on our team. We have got to stand together if we're going to win this. We say it every election cycle. This is the most important election of our lifetime. Look, this is the most important election of our lifetime. But I want to remind you, Barack Obama will not be on the ticket in 2016. That's the good news. That deserves some cheers. Hillary Clinton probably will be. So from now on, when we talk about Obamacare and when we talk about Benghazi and the IRS and the $17 trillion national debt and all the other issues that are crushing jobs growth in this country, the question isn't anymore just what Barack Obama did. The question now becomes, Hillary Clinton, what are you going to do? What are you going to do differently? Do you support it? It's time to shift our attention on the people who are actually going to be on the ballot. Senator Jeanne Shaheen, Carol Shea Porter, Ann McLean Custer. Jeanne Shaheen, the taxing machine. Let's not forget who's supposed to be in our sights this year. We have got to get rid of the senator that gave the entire great nation of America Obamacare. It is time to defeat Senator Jeanne Shaheen. And if there's anyone who doesn't understand the New Hampshire advantage, it is Governor Maggie Hassan, who has made it a priority now to take all the way to the Supreme Court the idea of overturning one of the most opportunity-driven laws that we've ever been able to pass here in the Education Scholarship Tax Credit Fund. And a law that finally opened the door to create the day where children's educational opportunity would not be determined by the zip code where they lived, but by their parents' choice, by what the vision and the love and the vision their parents have for them. And let me just tell you, thank God for the Republican firewall in the Senate, or we would have had that budget that Governor Hassan offered early last year instead of a balanced budget with no new taxes and fees. That's the kind of leadership we need. We are going to beat Maggie Hassan next year. Here is my promise to all of you. Our primaries are starting to pick up. They're starting to heat up in some cases. God bless you. Go for it. I love primaries. This is where we have the debate of ideas. This is where we have a free and open exchange of different visions and different thoughts and ideas about how to get there. But when the primary is over, you have my promise, my sacred promise. No matter who wins the primary, the party is going to be there for that candidate. If your favorite Liberty candidate wins, your favorite conservative, if a moderate Republican, as they might be called, wins that election, the party's going to be there for that person. 100%, man hours, resources, everything we've got to make sure they win. All I ask from you in return is that you do the same thing. No matter who it is, that every single one of you is there to make sure the Republican gets across the finish line. That's what this is all about. We live in the greatest nation on earth. We live in the freest nation on earth. We still live in a nation where opportunity leads the day. We should be the party of education, the party of jobs, the great opportunity party. That's what this weekend has been all about. I am so grateful that you've been here to be part of it. I beg you to continue the message, continue the efforts that we began here today. It is my great privilege to introduce our next speaker. He is known to some as the former White House Chief of Staff under President, I know who it was under President H.W. Bush. He is known to many as the former governor of the great Granite State, and he is certainly known to all of us as a great friend to the New Hampshire Republican Party. Please welcome Governor John Sununu.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. It's nice to see old friends from our 6 New England states, friends from the rest of the states in the Northeast, and certainly our friends from Puerto Rico. This is I think, an important event. We had an event like this in 2009 in Rhode Island, and it set the tone for what we were able to do in 2010. That's what this is all about, and I congratulate all of you who are involved in putting this together and getting the great success that Jennifer's talked about. Jennifer, you're doing a great job. We really appreciate it. It makes a difference, and we thank you. I want to thank Senate President Chuck Morse for what he's been doing. He's been holding the line against the governor who has absolutely no idea what the state of New Hampshire is all about. Chuck, we really appreciate what you've done. And I will give her a better introduction later on, but Carly, thank you very much for joining us tonight. It's good to have you here, and we really do appreciate the way you stood up and tried to take out Senator Boxer in that election. It was a good fight. Every time I see some of my friends from the New England states, I'm reminded of my first meeting as a new governor. It was right after the election. You go down to the National Governor Association meeting, and a lot of the old governors are there to explain to you how to do the important things as governor, like make sure you don't throw the plaques that you're given every week in the dump. where they will be found and reported in the press, and all those other things. And I remember running into Governor Mark White from Texas, a Democrat, and he started giving me a hard time for coming from New England because, as you know, he was telling me that he could tuck all 6 New England states in one corner of Texas. And I looked him in the eye and I said, I know that, Governor, but you have to understand, we were smart enough to divide in 6 and we have 12 senators. So we got off on the right foot. This country's in trouble. Most of our states are in a little bit of trouble. We have a nation, as a nation, in my opinion, had begun to take for granted all those things that made a difference. In New Hampshire, my state, our state, a state that really did things differently for a long, long time, still has no sales tax, still has no income tax. Thank you again, State Senate. The rest of our states have all been on a drift that is responding to a change in culture that I think was driven quite intentionally by a Democratic Party that decided that they were going to give away the store financially, culturally, morally, ethically. They've put us in a position where, as Jennifer said, this is, in a way, the most important election of our lifetime. It's a threshold election. It's an election where our voters have to stand up and decide whether they like the way the drift has been going, whether they support the crazy changes that are commonplace, whether they accept the fact that we have a president that doesn't believe in the exceptionalism of our country and a president that's supported by Democrats in the Senate and Democratic governors across the country in this attitude of we don't have to be important anymore. It's a president that really does not understand the responsibility of the office, and his laissez-faire attitude towards that responsibility is contagious enough that you see it in the Democrats in the Senate and the Democrats in the state houses across the country. We've got to stand up and make the change. It's unbelievable to me as we see what is happening, this great divide between those who believe in the traditional values of this country and those who have decided that values make no difference. That's what I think is at least a significant part of what's at stake in this election. As was true in 2009, we came out of a terrible election in 2008. Now we've come out of a terrible election in 2012. We have hopes. We're nervous. We're not quite sure how they pulled off what they did in 2012. I know a lot of us were truly surprised with the results, not only across the country, but within our own states. And we have to go back and do the forensics, if you will, the forensic analysis, state by state and ward by ward, to find out how they pulled the vote out. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. But we must understand that just having the right position is no longer sufficient in American elections. We have to have the right positions, the right commitments, the right philosophy, the right energy, But we also have to understand what the game is all about. The game, as Jennifer said, is about winning. Policies have to be changed. How do you change policies? You change policies by winning elections. It is atrocious to me to see people who have decided that the battle should be inside the party, and what they want to win are the small battles internally, and they give up the big battles that take place at the ballot box. We've got to change that. We have to understand it's truly a two-party system. And with all due respect to those who think that their third party is a good third party, there is no such thing as a good third party for Republicans who want to win elections. When I was the cranky old chairman of this party in 9 and 10, I went around reminding us that infighting in a party is a luxury that only belongs to a supermajority. And we are far from a supermajority now. We can fight after we win. %51%. You've got to build a coalition of 51%. Please explain to me, my dear friends in the Republican Party, how you get to 51% by dissing each other. You can't. It's a party of inclusion. I don't agree with everyone on every issue in this party, but I'll bet we agree on 80%, and that's the Reagan 80% rule. I don't often quote Rand Paul, but he said something the other day that was, I thought, very important to hear from him, very much representative of the attitude I'm talking about, and very much critical for us to remember every day over the next 8 months. He said, splintering the party is not the route to victory. We cannot let personalities or slight differences on issues or slight differences on the way we want things done to keep our party from being unified. It has to come together for 2014. I find it tragic that the bulk of the bitterness I hear inside the party is not truly a difference on issues. It's a difference on tactics, or sometimes two personalities who have just gotten crosswise. We as a party have in fact lost elections because 2 or 3 people in the leadership of one of our state parties got cranky at each other. We can't afford it. We cannot afford it. And the country deserves better from us. We've got to work, as Jennifer said, to run hard, energetic primaries. But the day after that election, we have to come together, join hands, and make a difference in November of 2014. Jennifer gave you a good list of the things we stand for. Choice in education, smaller government, reduced taxes, less spending, a national security policy that's built on reality, not a foreign policy, as the Washington Post said this president has, not a foreign policy built on fantasy. Those are all parts of what I am absolutely positive that everybody in this room agrees on. So what do we differ on? Crankiness, personality, and some odd vision that we want to take over a party for the sake of taking it over and forget that the important thing is to expand a party to win. This election can only be won if we pay attention to that. And I am beginning to get a good feeling that people are beginning to understand it. Now let me talk a little bit about the mechanics of election. I'm a little bit paranoid nowadays. I honestly don't know what happened in 2012 nationwide and in our state. Let me give you some numbers that I cannot explain. If you go home tonight, Google Cleveland 2012 presidential election precinct results. You will find in the city of Cleveland about 70 precincts with results like the following: 750 to 1, 440 to 2, 530 to nothing. Now, as bad as those numbers sound, that's not the problem. The problem is that in those districts where it was 750 to 1, in 2008 it was only 450 to 1, which means they almost doubled, precinct by precinct, the turnout and the vote. Let me give you some numbers closer to home. In New Hampshire, 700,000 voters for president. 99,500 same-day registrations. In the city of Manchester, almost 20% of the votes were same-day registrations. Nationwide, 35% of the total vote was early vote or absentee voting, compared with 11% in 1996. Even if it's legitimate, even if it's valid, I guarantee you when you get into the inside of those numbers, they're eating our lunch. So we have leadership from state parties here today. I urge you to go back, get some resources allocated, and figure out how we're going to match finding our voters, getting them to the polls, using early voting if we have to, using absentee balloting if we have to, but we cannot get outdone in 14 the way we were outdone in 12. It's up to you folks who are here as the party leaders to go back and figure out how to do that. Every state's a little different. Every problem's a little different. But the solutions are in your hands, and you've got to get the candidates to allocate some funds for us to do that. 2014 is coming quickly. November 2014 is coming quickly. 8 months. Critical election. Important policies to be changed. The insanity of Obamacare to be undone. Pressure on a president to understand what the country is all about. You've gathered here because you care. 8 months is both a long time and a short time. It's a long time in the sense that what you're going to have to do is work hard for a significant period of time. But it's a short time because it's almost too short to get everything done that you will want to do. You can do it. It will happen. if you focus your time, energy, and resources. Jennifer said it. It's the most important election of our lifetime. I'm thrilled to see you here. Now go home and do it right. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to serve as the introductor for the important speech of the night. There are special people in this world who do special things, and we're lucky enough tonight to have somebody who falls in that category. Carly Fiorina was president and CEO, chairman of Hewlett-Packard from 1999 to 2005. Not an easy job. If you take a look at her book, she'll talk to you about the multiple facets. She talks about in there the multiple facets on which she felt like an outsider. She came from a focus in marketing instead of engineering. She was a woman in a male-oriented company. She did not come from within. She came as a CEO that was brought in from outside, but she was able to deal with all of that and engineered what I think was one of the neat mergers of all time, bringing Compaq in and making Hewlett-Packard the largest producer of personal computers in the world. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you tonight Carly Fiorina, who ran for the Senate in California, did a great job in pounding on Barbara Boxer, but then again, it was California. Carly Fiorina.
Thank you so much, Governor, for your kind introduction, but even more importantly, for your wonderful speech, your stirring reminders and remarks. Thank you, Chairman Horn, as well, for your inspiring comments. Senators, for your hard work, and ladies and gentlemen, for your dedication and commitment to the cause of liberty. It is a great honor for me to be in New Hampshire with all of you. This, the first primary state, is the right place to begin a conversation about our future and what we can do together to restore the American dream. My husband, Frank, who's here with me and sitting right here at the front table, my husband, Frank, and I have both lived that American dream. Frank grew up in a working-class Italian neighborhood in Pittsburgh. His father, who owned a TV repair shop and later opened a garage, died when Frank was only 13. And so Frank went to work helping out in the garage and later became a tow truck driver. He still loves trucks with flashing lights and cars of all kinds, but especially American muscle cars. I think he became a volunteer ambulance driver so that he could drive something with flashing lights again. Frank would go on to earn his engineering degree and became an executive at AT&T. I grew up with a stay-at-home mom and a father who was a professor. My parents both knew hard times during the Depression. Each had lost a parent at a young age. They stressed the value of an education, the importance of integrity and hard work, and pushed their children to realize their potential. I worked 2 jobs.